I'm about to do my last long run before I run the Chicago Marathon next weekend. And you want to know the crazy part is that I've only had 6 weeks to train for this marathon. This is a completely different training style than what I did for Boston. And I think it's gonna pay off, but I'm gonna take you along today with everything I'm doing to get myself ready in this taper for the Chicago Marathon, how it's been so super different from me, a lot less volume, and why I think it's gonna pay off. So I'm gonna share that with you today. I'm gonna eat my breakfast right now. This is, what is it called? I wanna say Kamut Puffs. It is puffed kamut. I'm doing this with some honey, blueberries, coconut milk. This is something I've been doing before most of my long runs. I've noticed that this has been the best source of like stable carbohydrates for me. I feel like it has helped me maintain my energy the best during all of my long runs this prep. So I'm doing that, drinking up some electrolytes, and then we're gonna get out there, and I've got 8 miles on deck today, which does not feel like a long run in the grand scheme of running a marathon. So I'm pumped. Hello. Okay. Now I realize I haven't talked a lot in my videos about the Chicago Marathon and my training for it. So I wanted to summarize now that I am in my taper week. I am 8 days out from running the Chicago Marathon, what I did differently compared to Boston, why, and how I feel very confident that this may be in fact better prepared me for this marathon. So flashback, I did run the Boston Marathon 6 months ago, and I have maintained a pretty solid running base since then. I was not doing considerably long runs. However, I maintained my normal base of anywhere between 1 to 3 runs a week, usually 2 to 3 runs was my average. So I have maintained a nice running base since then. So fast forward now to August, I want to say, I learned that being part of Shocks, I could apply for the Chicago Marathon and potentially get in. So there was an option of Chicago or Berlin. I chose Chicago thinking that would just better work for me. So at that time, knowing I had a possibility, I started prepping myself. I started training a little bit more. I was like dipping my toes in, but not going full commitment, not knowing if it was going to pan out or not. So I essentially had 6 weeks of knowing I was definitely running the Chicago Marathon. So this was very different for me because with Boston, I planned for about 4 months. I really built up my base. I really leaned into progressive long runs every week with some backing down. I spent a good chunk of time prepping for that run, and I also did 2 or 3 20-milers within that time frame. So I had a considerably shorter time frame for this race. So with that said, shorter time frame isn't necessarily good or bad. It was just a shorter time frame. One thing about endurance running is that you don't really lose it the way you think you might. You know, same is true for my lifters out there. We always think we just lose something within a week, and your body does have memory of what you've done. My body is adapted. Those slow twitch fibers are so trained. You know, this will be my 16th marathon I've ever ran, second for this year, but that baseline that I built is still there. So even though I didn't train as long, as many runs, I still have that baseline there. So my training was a bit more intentional versus being more exhaustive for what it can be. Exhaustive, is that a word? Like, you know, more exhausting prone, which does put you at risk of injury if you're overtraining, you're not recovering, etc. So that really wasn't an issue of mine. So for this training block, I have everything logged because I've been logging my runs. Once I put my name in the hat, these are the long runs I completed, and this was it. I did an 8-miler, I built up to 12, then I hopped into 16, I did an 18, and I did a 20-miler. I did my 20-miler almost a month ago now. So I started tapering very early, and I did that intentionally because I felt like I did not want to be pushing long runs too close to the marathon with how intense that long run load is I just mentioned. It felt like it made more sense for me to prioritize pulling back, getting my body refreshed, rested, recovered, because I now know I can run the marathon distance. That is not a question in my mind. It was a lingering question when I ran Boston. That's not a question anymore. I can do the distance. So I felt like this was the better approach, to just kind of not waste time on any junk miles, just kind of stay more maintenance focused. Next thing, like I said, I relied on my baseline that I carried over from Boston. So my aerobic fitness, my endurance, my muscle memory, all of that's still in place. So it's not like I really had to build or start a building phase for this. I was more so like reactivating that baseline I already had. Fewer miles for me led to better recovery. I felt incredible throughout this short training block. All of my runs felt really good. It's not to say that runs were not hard, but I was really able to fine tune what I was doing for my runs, being very intentional with those runs. And every run felt very purposeful. And like, I didn't have a single run where it just felt too hard, if that makes any sense. And that's not always the case. We don't always have control over that. But I just felt like every run felt really good. So that kept me very confident. I also definitely had more intuition with just my body overall, listening to my body better, which is why I chose that longer taper period. I just felt that this was the smarter move. I guess the true test will be race day, so stay tuned for that. I will have a full separate race weekend vlog next weekend while I'm in Chicago. Another thing here I want to mention is that you guys know I came out of my Driven series. For those that have been following, I did a summer cut. I had really good results, and I've actually continued to lean out since that cut, even though I haven't been in deficit macros. Sometimes that time under tension, if you will, even with a dieting phase, even when you add back in calories, your body still responds to metabolic recovery. And my body has responded very well. So I'm now bringing in a physique into this marathon that is probably my leanest, strongest physique yet. And that will pay off when we are talking endurance running and longer mileage, a longer time to be pounding on my legs, on my body. Every pound of fat that I'm not carrying for a marathon is a positive, all right? So I'm coming into this race about 8 pounds lighter than I was for Boston. Now that could change after a little bit of carb loading and water, but that's not really gonna be fat gain, right? I need to replenish and have full glycogen stores coming into the marathon. However, like I said, I'm coming into this race, my leanest, strongest version of me yet at 42 years old. It was my birthday this past week, by the way. So I'm really excited to see how that feels. I have always noticed a difference. This is where weight can matter in athletics. And with running, I certainly notice a difference if I'm lighter and leaner versus carrying a bit more body fat. So for that reason, I do think it makes a difference, and it has made a difference. I've noticed my times for running, my splits have been faster, and even when they're not faster, the runs have felt easier. My overall pacing for all my runs has been coming in at faster times than what I did for Boston. With all that said, it is very different. There is that little part of me that says, crap, you didn't do a 16 to 20 week training block. You were not, doing all these structured runs that by textbook is how you would normally train for a marathon. But the thing is, I'm not the average person. I have endurance under my belt in my body. Realistically speaking, I'm very aware that I know the point that the marathon truly gets hard is that last 10K. That 6.2 miles at the end is where it gets hard. It's always been hard. It's always been hard for me. That's always the hard part of the race. Some say that's when the race really starts, is that final 10K. So I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of my body will probably be feeling it in that last 10K as it normally does. But I am just so overwhelmed with excitement for this opportunity to not only run and represent Shocks, but Ghost is headquartered in Chicago, getting to go back to Chicago, see Chicago. One of the things I love about running is being able to see new things and to see a whole new city, and run a marathon at the same time. maybe I'm wild, but that sounds like a fun time to me. So I'm very excited to do this. Brand new course for me. I've never ran Chicago. It's known to be fast and flat. It is a world major. So we've got over 50,000 people that are going to be running it. So it's going to be a very busy race, but they say it's faster. So with all that in mind, I feel very confident going into this race with what I have put in a shorter period of time. I think it's going to pay off. So with Boston, if you followed that prep, my goal was just to prove to myself that this bitch has still got it. And I did that. I proved that to myself, and I ran a really incredible marathon. I ran an incredible time for an incredibly hard course with challenging temperatures starting later in the afternoon. My goal for this race is number one, above and beyond at this stage in my life, it's always to enjoy it, to have fun, but also I'm itching to beat the Boston time. I really want to run this a bit more intentional, push myself a bit harder, push myself into the suck. And I think I'm going to do just that. So those are some of the big highlights for me, what stands out, why this one is just so incredibly different. And I'm just so beyond excited to do the damn thing. So I wanted to update y'all on that. I'm starting to get things together for what I need to pack, what I need to bring, because I leave this Friday. Right now I'm filming this on Saturday. So I'm starting to get my list together so I have everything ready to go. And right now I think Jason's gonna make me some dinner. So I'll share some stuff with you after what I'm bringing with me to have on hand for the marathon. I think it's just helpful. I would rather pack more than having to panic and buy stuff last minute. That is not a good time for me. When it comes to traveling and trips in general, I feel like a seasoned pro at it now because I travel so much for work between Buff Bunny and Grounds app. I've just learned what makes travel effortless and stress-free for me. And that is being prepared and planned in advance. So that's gonna include all my nutrition, my shoes, my outfits, my supplements, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna share with you guys all of that because I really wanna get ahead and get things together so I'm not panic packing last minute. But Jay and I had a nice walk today, so I didn't do a full 8 miles today. I got in just a little less, and that's totally fine. At this point, the work has been done. But I'm gonna eat, and I'm also gonna take the dogs for a mini walk. I've got a lot of recovery. That is the name of the game for this week. The journey it's done here. The race will happen. What I do this week is more important to focus on recovery, rest, getting my body as fresh as possible. And I went into Boston with shin splints. I don't want to do that this time. I don't truly know how I got shin splints, so that's still a bit of a mystery. I think it was driving. And the week before I helped film the Vita campaign and was running in really flat shoes. So the name of the game this week is just really focusing on rest, recovery, getting a massage. I'll share with you something I purchased. I'm gonna have Jason use that on me tonight. That's also helping with my recovery, but it is taper week, which equals selfish mode for Kara. It's fueling, it's hydrating, it's resting, recovering, doing all the things to keep stress low so I can go into the race with my body as least inflamed as possible, feeling as crispy and brand new as possible. So I'm pretty freaking psyched, you guys. So yeah, let's go get some dinner because Jason makes me the best dinner, as you know. Oh, but also, before I forget, if you guys do want to track me on race day, I will put the information here. I think you have to download the app. There's a Chicago Marathon app, but you can live track me. And a bunch of y'all did that for Boston. And I didn't realize that at the time that so many people would actually track me. And I remember going into my Discord after the fact, and it just brought me so much joy knowing that so many of you were cheering for me. Like, I just did not realize that. Like, I don't know, running a marathon for me is a very not isolating, it's like a lonely sport because I run alone and I don't mind that. It gives me peace, it's my therapy. But on race day to have so many people cheering for you, it's a mind game out there, and knowing that people are cheering for you and rooting for you, it gets you through when things get dark, and things get dark out there in those later distances. So would love for y'all to live track me and be cheering me on if you want. If you're into that, it does mean a lot. So I'll leave the details somewhere here within this video or down in the comments. I'll pin it. I think you have to download the app, and then you just put in my info and you can track me. Also, follow me over on Instagram, Kara Corey Fit Life, because I will be doing more live updates and stuff like that over there. So if you're like into the running thing or just want to support, make sure you're following me on my Instagram too. Okay, I need to refuel. I had a really good lunch after my run this morning, but now your girl needs some dinner, okay? I want to talk a little bit about recovery and why it is so important in everything I've been doing, because something this past year, 2025, I have been really proud of is my consistent effort with my warm-ups, my cool downs, and just prioritizing recovery. And I think maybe y'all aren't running marathons out there, but many of you are on this channel because you're interested in fitness and you're doing the thing. But oftentimes we don't prioritize recovery enough. And it is equal parts of the equation when it comes to being a healthy individual. So one of the things I wanted to share are probably number one, the most important thing I've been doing, learning about myself as a runner and a lifter, has been those dynamic stretches that I do, not only before I run, and you'll see some of what I did before my run yesterday, but also I do this stuff before each and every workout to really ensure that I am prioritizing the health of my hips, hip mobility, hip flexibility, and hip strength, whether you're a runner or not. It's such a critical component of what makes you a strong person, especially as we age. I want my hips, my glutes, my core, all of that to be as stable, strong as possible. And that definitely makes all the difference with my running. Going back a year ago, I did that running gait analysis. And one of the things we noticed is that I have really poor hip flexion, or not necessarily poor, but it needed to be improved upon when I run. And just even in basic movements, when he did his analysis, was that I have limited hip flexion, and it's just a matter of working on that and being more disciplined with that. So that is why you see me doing a lot of these pre-workout, just really hip focused movements to really warm everything up before I start running. And I gotta tell you, that has made a huge difference in all my workouts, just feeling like I can lift stronger, I can run stronger, and recover better with little to no tightness. I have been able to do these longer distance runs with really not a lot of recovery needed after the fact in terms of me feeling sore. It hasn't really put me down for the count. I've been able to maintain my strength training program. I'm doing the Discipline Diaries right now in the Grounds app, and I have been doing my strength training all along with no issues. And I do pride myself. I've been able to do that because of the steps I've been taking in recovery. So dynamic stretches to warm up, foam rolling has been huge. Something new I just added into the mix. I have been doing regular scheduled chiropractic adjustments, massage therapy as well. It's been priority for me. For my 42nd birthday, I bought myself a TENS unit. Have you guys heard of these or used one before? Let me know down in the comments. This can assist with just general pain management and just helps to stimulate the muscles and drive more blood flow. So my chiropractor recommended this for me specifically because we noticed I always have tight knots in my glutes. And if my glutes are tight, that's gonna make everything else tight. So he recommended one. I got this off Amazon. I can link this in the storefront if you wanna check it out. But I'm gonna use this again today. You can use these basically daily to just help stimulate the muscles. He noticed it immediately loosened up my booty cheeks. And that's what I need. I need to be as loose and fresh feeling as possible for my run. So I'm gonna be having Jason put these pads on my booty after. Yeah. Loosen them cheeks. It feels really good. It's actually very relaxing. You can do this in a bunch of different areas on your body. So I'm just gonna focus on the booty cheeks this week. Sister's coming tomorrow for a massage. Super hyped for that. In addition, let's talk a little bit more about recovery when it comes to nutrition and fueling and what I've been doing. First and foremost, your girl hydrates like a motherfucking boss, all right? Like, I am the hydration queen. I'm usually sucking down 2 of these a day of plain water. Done and dusted with that, and I'm very strategic with my runs. I've been doing my electrolytes pre-run. You notice that from the earlier footage. Not only do I do it pre-run, I will do it intra, I will do it post. I will just keep pushing in the electrolytes. So this is where Ghost Intra is super helpful. They also have BCAAs, but the Intra is a complex that has the essential amino acids in it, and then it has all the hydration products in it as well. So it's gonna give me pink sea salt, it's gonna give me Aquamin, potassium citrate to really get me nice and hydrated. This also has like cognitive benefits too. If you don't need that, you could just go with BCAAs and then add in some Ghost Hydration. I go through this so much. The team knows I'm running a marathon, so they're great about sending me as much as I need, but you have to utilize electrolytes, whether you are a runner or a lifter. If you are sweating and excreting a lot, if you are living in Houston and sweating all the time, you will probably notice a difference in performance when you nail down your hydration strategy. So I feel like I've been doing that perfectly with like perfect execution. Supplement wise, the other things I've been doing pretty much dialed in are Ghost creatine. This is just plain creatine from the Ghost Basics line. Why this would matter in terms of what I'm doing here, it helps with recovery. I'm more so being a stickler about taking this because we now know there's huge brain health benefits to longevity with taking creatine. I believe you and everyone else should be taking creatine every single day. No excuses. It doesn't matter if you work out or don't work out. You just take it every single day. This is optimal assurance that we need. Scientifically proven, the most heavily studied supplement on the market is creatine monohydrate. So that is in rotation. In addition, other things I've been doing, it may seem like a lot. Honestly, I could be doing more, but this is pretty effortless in my routine. That's why you see this stuff in all of my videos. Clear Whey has been a game changer for me. Quite easily, probably one of the things that has helped me get lean and maintain leanness is upping my protein intake. And you'll see that throughout the Driven series. But the Clear Whey, this is something that I always crave. As a runner, if you're a runner, you know how it feels to do these long runs and have GI distress. It gets really challenging to eat enough post long run, believe it or not, regardless of how many calories you expended, the GI has gone through it and you will be feeling off. I push myself to make sure I get in and replenish protein regardless. Clear Whey has been the mechanism to get me there because it just digests so easily. It does not upset the stomach. If you're someone that gets sick and you notice when you're sick, it's hard to eat protein because you get the protein ick, Clear Whey, have that on hand. That's been a game changer for me. Lastly, I am traveling so much. I just did 2 trips in September and I am traveling the next 4 weeks essentially. So with being proactive in terms of my immunity, my immune health, when you run a marathon, it's very typical that post-marathon, your body is like, whew, we hung on, we got through it. Adrenaline dump, your body crashes, you get sick. I need to prevent that, especially because I'm going to be running amongst 53,000 runners in the city of Chicago. So in addition to my diet being just as good as it possibly can be in terms of whole foods, nourishing foods, high antioxidant load, I'm also adding in making sure I'm doing Ghost greens daily. They did just come out with the cranberry greens. That is my favorite flavor they've ever done. So I'm doing this, also the Ghost vitamin C with glutathione. This is just gonna, again, help ensure that I'm doing everything I can with my immune health. You know, all we can do is the best we can. We can't always dictate when we get sick or don't get sick, but I'm sure shit gonna do everything I can to not get sick and to stay very healthy. Sleep has been really good this week, actually. Sleep's been really good. That's something that I'm prioritizing. And lastly, intra fuel while I run. You guys have probably seen me use this. Marathon running is not a cheap sport. Some say it's free because you're out there running. It's not cheap. if you do it right. It's not cheap. So I have always used the Goo Energy. You have to play around with this during your training. This could be something you use if you're a lifter as well, but I have found what works for me, and that is doing the Goos. I like the sweet ones, sea salt chocolate, the Roctane one. These are more expensive, but they have a higher load of electrolytes in here, as well as simple carbohydrates and a little bit of caffeine. That is my sweet sauce when I am running 3 to 4 hours, every 30 to 40 minutes, staying on top of getting this into my body, keeping that glucose in my bloodstream. That way my muscles can maintain my glycogen stores and I don't hit that wall of having no glycogen left. This is the key. The goal is not to try to eliminate as much as I can during a race. It's to keep putting as much in me and effort to run as strong and fierce as possible. These help me, they work. I noticed too with running in hotter conditions, having some of these salt tabs. I'm gonna keep these on me when I run as well. This is more intra race day stuff. Got some sport beans just for the morning of too. There's a lot involved. It's time consuming, but I just wanted to share a little bit of insights of some of what I've been doing to stay as healthy as possible. And this is all the stuff I'll be using this week coming into the marathon.